We're going to start with some breaking news here at 4. Crews in Bentonville responding to a house fire. Thanks for joining us. I'm Darren Bob. This a live look now at the scene where they are fighting this fire at Northwest Turner Drive in Bentonville. Bentonville Fire says it was dispatched to the scene just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. According to the investigators there, no one has been injured that they know of. We'll, of course, continue monitoring as crews continue to put out that fire. President Trump appears to be backing up his national security team after inadvertently leaking details of a military strike to a journalist on the messaging app Signal. Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, was inadvertently included in the group chat. Goldberg said military operations and their timing were discussed, said Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared sensitive operational details, including information about targets, weapons, and attack sequencing. Waltz defended the use of the Signal app and tried to point the finger back at Goldberg.
This one in particular I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room.
On Capitol Hill, reaction appears split, mostly along party lines. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe were on the text chain and were all ready to testify at a hearing today where Democrats demanded answers about whether classified material was shared. Meanwhile, the president says no classified material was included in those texts.
Let's get a check of your weather out there this afternoon, this evening rather. We're sitting comfortably in the upper 70s in the River Valley, low to mid 70s in the northwest Arkansas part of the area. Not a bad evening at all. We've seen clouds on the increase, and those clouds are trying to spit a couple of really spotty sprinkles out there. I've turned the radar as sensitive as it can get, and what you find are some very light spotty sprinkles trying to make their way in from the northwest. This will not amount to much at all if it's even making it to the ground. I'll tell you, the air's pretty dry overall, which is likely chipping away a lot of these showers as they pass through the area. We'll have another chance in the River Valley overnight tonight. In the meantime, the next several hours, not bad. We'll be in the 70s until at least 7 o'clock this evening, down into the 60s by 9 p.m. Partly cloudy skies expected into the overnight hours. We'll fall to the low 50s by the time we start to warm things back up again tomorrow. Now in the River Valley, we're going to hold on to a little bit more in the way of cloud cover overnight, and we have a slightly better chance of an overnight sprinkle, maybe even a clap of thunder across parts of the area. We'll put Futurecast to work for us, and we'll track that together coming up here in just a few minutes. It's going to be comfortable this week. That's the big key story. There are some late week rain chances. I've had some revisions to that forecast today as the forecast data has become a little bit more clear, especially with regards to the potential of a couple of strong to severe thunderstorms. We'll give you the latest forecast there here in just a few minutes.
All right, Scott, thanks. New at 4, spring has arrived, and with warmer temperatures comes seasonal attire, and that's why Seven Hills is asking the community for donations to its summer closet and pantry. Christina Andaloza with Seven Hills in Fayetteville says they see about 75 to 150 people experiencing homelessness every day. About 75% of that group is men. They say that puts the shelter in dire need of men's shoes in all sizes, jeans 28 to 40-inch waist and 30 to 32-inch length, belts and men's boxers in all sizes, as well as T-shirts and shorts.
It's so important for our community to step in. We can't do this by ourselves. We want our guests to feel like they're cared for and that we care about their success. So when you help, it helps us to help them.
Cooling clothes, bug spray, water, and electrolytes, and dog leashes also on the list of requests to prepare for the extreme heat that's coming up. Trump administration says it will crack down on what it calls coordinated attacks on Tesla vehicles and dealerships across the country. Karen Hui reports this comes after multiple incendiary devices were found as a Tesla showroom in Austin yesterday.
Investigators took pictures and gathered evidence outside a Tesla showroom in Northwest Austin after incendiary devices were found there Monday morning. No one was injured, but the incident spooked residents.
That's horrific, horrible. I have 6 children. I mean, they're all grown in their 30s now, but I have grandchildren. What if I was up here to show them a car?
Police have not yet released the names of anyone involved in this attack, and they haven't shared any information about what types of devices were found here as well.
It's one of a string of recent incidents targeting Tesla, from vehicles set on fire in Nevada and Missouri to graffiti in Maryland and Colorado. Since January, CBS News has identified at least 32 vandalism cases across 16 states, impacting Tesla cars, charging stations, or dealerships. The FBI has launched a task force to investigate what its director calls domestic terrorism. President Trump reiterated that message Monday.
I think they're going to suffer very grave consequences because they're really terrorists when you think about it.
Jeff Nguyen bought his Tesla 3 years ago. He says built-in cameras recorded a man keying his car last week at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. He posted the video on social media and it went viral.
It's kind of crazy that just something like this is turned into like a political thing.
Elon Musk says Doge employees have been getting death threats. Karen Hua, CBS News, Austin.
An advocacy group warns that federal legislation regarding truck weight limits could have significant impacts on infrastructure here in Arkansas. 5 News reporter Jacob Luthi live in Springdale now with more on a recent study's findings on truck weight and local bridges. It's amazing. Jacob?
Yeah, Darren, the bridge that you see right behind me is one of more than 12,000 in the state that is trafficked by heavy trucks daily. And now the Coalition Against Big Trucks says that raising the standard weight of these vehicles could potentially cost the natural state a lot of money when it comes to infrastructure. Now, the CABT, or the Coalition Against Bigger Trucks, says they monitor and advocate for highway safety and sound transportation policies. CABT says their independent study found that Arkansas is one of 10 states with the highest potential costs to replace local bridges if truck weights are raised. The group says that there have been talks of raising the federal gross vehicle weight from 80,000 pounds to 91,000 pounds. That 11,000 pound increase comes from a bill filed in Congress last year that looked to perform a pilot program and study the weight increase. But CABT says their recent study shows that the increase could put more than 200 of Arkansas's bridges at risk, which they say could end up costing the state more than $2 billion in maintenance.
We had this data available about local bridge conditions, but no one had been aggregating it and understanding how federal legislation could then impact the local infrastructure. And we've seen the cost really skyrocket in the past 2 years, and that falls on the back of taxpayers and local governments that simply are not receiving dedicated funds from the federal government as a lot of these bills are written.
Now, CABT says that they are not just worried about infrastructure, they're also worried about highway safety. We'll have more on that at 5. But for now, I'm in Springdale, covering news where you live. Jacob Luthi, 5 News.
All right, Jacob, thanks. Meanwhile, the nation's infrastructure report card is out. It highlights a need for major improvements. Reports looked at 18 different segments of infrastructure, including the nation's aviation system, which earned a D+. Chris Van Cleve reports some are demanding big changes.
It's so much loss. It's so much unnecessary loss.
Rachel Ferris feels like she has to be a voice for those silenced in January's mid-air collision over Washington, D.C.
I want people to remember that all 67 souls on board were precious. They were beautiful. This isn't just an accident that we move on from.
Among them, her cousin Peter Livingston, his wife, and their 2 young daughters.
They won't get married. They won't have babies of their own. And they deserved that. They deserved that.
She wants lawmakers and the FAA to take action now to make flying safer. The newly released infrastructure report card gave the U.S. aviation system a D+, unchanged from 4 years ago, due in part to the slow pace of modernization and a funding gap of $114 billion over the next 10 years.
While we have made progress, there certainly are warning signs and that tell us that we need to further invest.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is now calling for rapid updates to the country's aging air traffic control system.
Does it upset you that it takes people dying to get attention to make a change?
Somebody called it a tombstone mentality. Every regulation is written in blood, and that's not the way we should be doing things. I think that's outrageous.
Overall, the nation's infrastructure earned a C. 8 of the 18 segments showed improvement. The authors credit the billions of dollars spent through the infrastructure bill for that. The areas that underperformed tend to have large gaps in funding needs and also need to build towards better resiliency against severe weather. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Dallas.
Report also shows the nation's ports and railways scored the highest, while the roads and dams among the poorest performers.